But let's talk about last night. Newcastle had only won 2 of 11 League Cup quarter-finals prior to last night. But then Brentford were duly dispatched, and the good news is the Magpies have never lost a semi-final.
Still Livramento, dangerous ball in, out as far as Tonali! Sandro Tonali into the bottom corner. He's given Newcastle United the start they wanted. Midfield maestro from Milano as the chant goes, and he's given Newcastle a lead. But here go Brentford, and Wissa into the area. Dubravka with a big save, and Wissa down under a challenge. Referee says no penalty. Go over the top, Anthony Gordon's onto it, into the penalty area, left-hand side. Gordon beats his man, and clears the crossbar with the shot. Here's the corner, played short and then clipped into the box by Gordon. Tonali! What a goal! His first strike was fantastic, and the second is even better. And what a clever corner kick routine that is. Murphy whipped to the edge of the area, laid off by Bruno. Back to Tonali. Oh, he's sent wide of goal. He couldn't get the shot away. Isak now. Here's Murphy. He's hit the post. And Newcastle win it back through Joe Willock. Now they can go. Wide left to Gordon. Gordon into the box. Anthony Gordon just wide. Murphy cuts inside. Bruno's got it. Back to Jacob Murphy. Oh, just wide. Lewis Hall tries a curler, blocked on the way through. Still with Hall. It's drawn for it again, and it's come out to Bruno, and it's tapped in by Fabian Schär for Newcastle United's third of the night. Joe Willock, strong running from midfield. Back to Harvey Barnes off the post. Barnes against the base of the post with Flecken beaten. Brentford are attacking at the moment. It's a Burmo, and the cross to Wissa into the bottom corner. Brentford have got one back. Newcastle will be furious that they haven't managed to keep a clean sheet. We're now into a 4th minute of additional time. There's the final whistle. Newcastle United are keeping the dream alive of a return to Wembley and League Cup glory. They are into the semi-finals.
Yeah, really pleased. Good performance from the players. Every game brings a unique challenge. I thought Brentford were everything that we thought they would be. They're a strong team, but we scored some really good goals. Great to see Sandro score the 2 that he did. Just a really good feeling about the group at the moment. I think we're building in confidence all the time.
So, we'll get a bit more reaction in just a tick. Firstly, Steve, your reaction. Fairly straightforward victory?
Well, I don't think anything's straightforward. I think you've got to give the team credit for the performance that they put on. I mean, I think going into the game, you would probably put Newcastle favourites. I mean, given the fact that, if they were going to bring, like we've mentioned before, a couple of times, the intensity, any team's going to struggle. But given the fact that Brentford's win record this season is pretty dire, let's be honest, compared to what the home record is, which again Newcastle found out to their cost the other week. It was a very good performance. I mean, it was 3, could have been a lot more. A couple of missed chances. Missing the target, hitting the post. I mean, they had a couple of chances, key parts of the game, but ultimately, I mean, Brentford managers talking afterwards, and he was like, "Listen, we'll be by the better team," and they absolutely were. So, a very good win, some very good performances. So I'm pretty sure the manager, the players, and the fans would have left very happy.
Yes, we are actually going to hear a little bit from Thomas Frank, as well as from Eddie Howe, and a bit from Sandro Tonali as well in a moment. But it was, commentating Razor, after they'd scored so early, it never really felt like they were going to relinquish that lead, did it?
No, an early goal was probably what they needed last night, and it just gave them the platform to go on and win the game comfortably. And the point about it being straightforward is that Newcastle just played really well. I think there was a period in the first half at 1-0 before the second goal arrived from Sandro Tonali where the game was just drifting a bit and there wasn't a particularly quick tempo to it. But then when they got the second before half-time, you felt they were never going to lose. They should have had more in the second half. But overall, it was a really strong performance. The biggest surprise for me with Brentford was not necessarily how they played, but the fact that Brian Mbeumo, their star man, was on the bench, and then he came on and did have an impact. He was lively, set up the goal, A few people wondering whether or not it was offside, but there was no VAR last night, and that also applied to the penalty shout when Wissa, who scored in injury time, went down following a challenge from Martin Dubravka, but it wasn't a foul, so no VAR last night. But Mbeumo on the bench, maybe that just showed how much more the competition mattered to Newcastle, because Eddie Howe went with arguably the strongest available 11, definitely an 11 that most fans would have wanted to see, whereas Brentford played late on Sunday night, then Wednesday night, and they tried to get their match on Saturday against Nottingham Forest put back and moved, but that wasn't possible. That didn't happen, so they've had a busy week. Maybe that's why Mbeumo was on the bench, but it was a big surprise. It definitely helped Newcastle, but they played really well overall, and it was another morale-boosting night, and just great to be through to another semi-final, which is so exciting.
And what a performance from Sandro Tonali as well. It wasn't just his goals, he was brilliant everywhere on the pitch, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's really starting to show what he can do in that deeper midfield role, which we'll come on to in a moment. But obviously the most attention-grabbing aspect of last night from him were the goals. Now, the first one was a really good strike, swerving into the net, clipped the turf on the way through. Looks better every time you watch it. And the second, lovely move that he finishes off, a fantastic flying volley into the net. And they were his first goals since his return as well. He's been waiting a long time for moments like that, and here is what the two goals meant to Sandro Tonali.
I found the same emotion the first game against Aston Villa, and this is so important for me now in this moment, and for me, for my family, and for the team, and for these amazing fans.
And Eddie Howe knows the feeling of scoring twice at St James's Park is a special one.
For any player, when they go to a new club, and I still consider Sandro a relatively new player for us because he never played, although he's been here a while, to feel that connection with the supporters, having done your job to a great level, and today that was that feeling. He scored two pivotal goals for us. His teammates will love him even more after that performance. And I just think we're seeing him flourish now in a Newcastle shirt, and hopefully it's just the start of his journey here.
I know, Steve, you've always enjoyed watching him play, and last night he was pretty special, wasn't he?
Well, I mean, I've said for a long time, I think he's technically, as a player, I think he's Newcastle's best player. I mean, as I said, people go on about, Guimaraes and Isak. Well, I think them two are exceptional players as well. I look at him and I see a very, very talented young man. I've watched him a couple of times when he's been playing for Italy, and sometimes he just ruins the show. And I think he got asked a question yesterday after the game about the feeling of scoring in St James's Park, and he said that he notched a couple for Italy. But he is a very good player. And as Reza said, the two goals, the first one he hits into the ground, sort of skids off. It's not exactly in the corner, but it beats the goalkeeper more or less before it hits the back of the net before the goalkeeper's diving. And the second one, that is not easy to execute because you easily shank them. Certainly go over the bar, or certainly not hit the target. The kind of the height which he hits the ball, that's the height it stays at, which is a very difficult task indeed. But delighted for the player. I mean, I did listen to his interview as well after the game. I think his English, to be fair to him, is come on unbelievable. So is Guimaraes as well, by the way, because the two of them got interviewed. But delighted for the lad. So, as I sort of said, for weeks leading up to this, I would start him week in, week out because I rate him that much as a player. And hopefully this is the start of him not only having fantastic performances, but also, chipping in with goals, because he's more than capable, as we've seen last night, he can do that.
And there's not really any doubt now, is there, Reza, what his best position is?
Well, it's a position that many fans had wanted to see Tonali play. It's that deeper midfield role, the number 6, if you like, with Bruno to his right-hand side usually. Now they can change within the game, and they have done that at times as well. So Newcastle can be flexible and it can be fluid in midfield, but Tonali starting in the centre, Bruno to one side. And I think that is probably where you would say his long-term future would be in the Newcastle United team. Eddie Howe feels that they are getting more out of Sandro Tonali in that role.
The tweak in position has definitely helped him. He looks a lot more comfortable, deeper on the pitch. Very, very intelligent player. All the qualities that we knew when we signed him. It was just about finding the right balance for him and for the team. And It's good to see him, Bruno, Joe Linton, Joe Willock all play well today in the middle of the pitch. It's such an important area, goes without saying. Your midfield sort of wins and loses your games, and at the moment they're doing really well for us.
Yeah, this is something, Steve, that we discussed after the match with Ando. I know Joe Linton went off at half-time, but it does seem now, whereas maybe there was a bit of a problem with those three, Joe Linton, Bruno and Tonali playing together in midfield, not quite finding their rhythm together, not quite combining as you would hope. That seems to have been resolved now, perhaps with the tinkering in positions, perhaps with them just getting a bit more used to playing with each other.
Well, when you've got very good players, it shouldn't take you that long to get a good idea about which your teammates is, good at. But you do have somebody like Gimenez and Tonali who like to pick the ball up in a deep position. But there is an issue for me that it can't be like you do, I do it, I do it, I do it, you do it, I do it. Just mixing it up. It doesn't always have to be the same player. And as I said, for me, again, weeks ago, for me, the more they play together, the more they get used to each other. And that's been proven over the last few games. I mean, yeah, they've had the defeat against Brentford or one or two iffy results. But when you've got very good players, and I do think that Joe Linton helps that, because he's the one that's, he's the more robust player, the kind of bully in there, if you want. I do think it's harsh on other players that's in those positions. But ultimately, if you want to win games, and this might sound harsh, they are three very, very good players. And if they're fit, they'll play.
We were obviously keeping an eye out last night, Razor, on the other games that were ongoing. And obviously, Arsenal going behind after Newcastle had taken the lead. Or it was ahead of Newcastle taking the lead because it kicked off earlier. But we saw Palace were winning. And then, Southampton holding Liverpool for a bit. And people are thinking, wouldn't it be nice if if Newcastle get through, there was at least one relatively easy side, but not the case.
Martin Smith's shaking his head still.
Yes,
I mean Palace played well actually, and they put I would say their strongest team out, so they really fancied
Liverpool
it.
left a lot out, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, Southampton put the strongest team out, but obviously wasn't up to scratch. But yeah, it was Arsenal had to bring the big guns on, so it was tight there for a while.
Well, Crystal Palace were leading from the 4th minute until the 54th, so in front at half time, and then they got one back late, and of course the quarter-final ties would go straight to penalties if they were level. So there was, they lost by 1 goal. There was always a chance that they could take it to penalty. Same with Southampton as well, who came back. Really good goal from Cameron Archer to make it 2-1 with Liverpool still in front. Did you see the challenge at the end from Liverpool defender Jarrell Quansah on it was Mateus Fernandes of Southampton? It was a ball over the top. He was going through. He's got his arm across his chest and around his neck and on his shoulder. No VAR. Referee just waved his hands out to the side to signal, nothing, play on. Southampton feel that they should have had a late penalty, which could have taken it to a shootout. Liverpool, I think, perhaps not for the first time, very, very fortunate.
But Steve, obviously some big guns left. We'll find out who the fourth team in the semis is later tonight. Then the draw will be made. But I mean, I don't know if there's a particular one you'd like in the semis, or you just feel you're going to have to beat two good teams now if you're going to win the cup.
You'd probably take either Tottenham or Man United.
Yeah,
I have to be honest. I think if you were to pick out the other three teams, Tottenham, you just don't know what you're going to get. In all fairness, it's just like it is a box of chocolates with them. Sometimes they're absolutely amazing. You look at the 5-0, although it be against Southampton, and other times, they're so frustrating. I mean, you kind of you can understand Tottenham's frustration at times, and Man United still the kind of, I think it's still going to take them a while to sort of work under Amarin. There's obviously a little bit of kind of niggly stuff going on at the moment. I mean, Garnacho's out of the squad again. So is Rashford. I mean, them two lads not even in the squad. So something's happened behind the scenes, and I think he's kind of playing it down, the manager. But if you were to choose, it would be the winner of that game rather than Liverpool and Arsenal, because obviously they have got very strong squads where you definitely fancy Newcastle's chances over two legs. You would over Arsenal and Liverpool, but it's a lot tougher in my opinion.
Let us know who you would like in the semi-final draw, 0800 234 6565, or send us a WhatsApp on 08000 321 333. Start your message BBC, text 81333, also starting BBC. Steve, you've always been a bit of a fan of Thomas Frank, haven't you, the Brentford manager? When you come across him, he's always impressed you.
He has, yeah. I mean, I think he's got so much respect for the referees when he comes in, and sometimes he's not happy with the decision that's been made, but he puts his point across, very calmly. He mightn't agree with what the referee said, in all fairness, but I just think he's not like a lot of managers. I mean, and I would be one of them as well, that, furious at times, banging on the referee's door if a decision didn't go my way.
Yeah.
But the times that I have come across him, he's been brilliant. I have seen some stuff with him in the dressing room as well with the players. He seems to have a very good relationship with his players, and I like him. And I'm surprised, in all fairness, when there has been the merry-go-round, really, of managers over the past couple of seasons, he hasn't been taken to what big boys, if you want.
Well, maybe he's eyeing up the Newcastle job. I don't know. He's been saying some nice things, Razor, hasn't he, about Newcastle?
Some very nice things and words that I think a lot of you will appreciate if you are a Newcastle fan, because he hopes they can go on to lift the trophy.
I actually said to Eddie that I hope they win it because we need a little bit of change. It's was Liverpool winning, you're saying, and Arsenal winning, and I think it'll mean more to Newcastle supporters than the rest.
So, yes, people will like that, you're right.
Yeah, I think so. Well, that's generous of him, but I agree with Steve. He always comes across very well, good communicator. He's done a fantastic job at Brentford as well to bring them up and stabilise them in the Premier League. They've obviously lost Ivan Toney as well, and maybe Brian and Burmo, being linked to a lot of big clubs, including Newcastle. So you wonder what the long-term prospects are for him there, but very, very likeable and highly regarded within the game, Thomas Frank.
Let's hear a little bit more from Eddie Howe, though, Razor. 2 home wins, 7 goals scored. That's better, isn't it?
Yeah, much better. They've just been too inconsistent all season, but they know that. They are frustrated as well. In some respects, over the last few days, there has definitely been an improvement.
I think the balance of the team looks good at the moment. I think we've got players playing in their positions and playing well. We look creative again. I think there was a spell where we sort of lost our attacking impetus. Attacking relationships weren't there for a couple of weeks, but again, a high number of shots today, high number of chances to score, and that is really the game. You need the confidence in the front players and the whole team to deliver opportunities for you, and that's great to see.
What's the latest on Joe Linton, substituted at half-time?
I asked Eddie Howe about this after the match. You can listen to the full interview on BBC Sounds, and also your interview, Pridey, with Dan Byrne following the game. Our post-match reaction available on BBC Sounds from last night.
That Dan Byrne interview. I got some of it anyway, a bit later too.
Okay. Yeah, well, good to hear from the big man as well as Eddie Howe. But in the post-match interview, I asked about Joe Linton. He said he was taken off because he'd sustained a cut to his ear and to his mouth, and that was following can I call it a challenge, a collision in the box with Brentford defender Nathan Collins. Joe Linton reacted angrily to it, but I don't think there was any aggressive intent in there. It seemed to be accidental. Anyway, he was taken off. He's had some treatment. He's suspended for Ipswich on Saturday anyway, so he won't play at the weekend. We'll find out more tomorrow from the manager about Joe Linton. Sean Longstaff, who was banned last night, will return from suspension on Saturday. So one midfielder out and another back.
And as we've already touched upon, the draw is tonight. It'll be after the Spurs-Man United game.
Yeah, I'll just give you some of the details about the draw. Tottenham-Manchester United, 8 o'clock kickoff. Then they will make the draw at some point afterwards for the semi-finals. Newcastle are ball number 3. Arsenal, ball 1. Liverpool, number 2. And Spurs or Manchester United will be ball 4. First leg of the semi-final is in the week beginning the 6th of January, and the second leg will take place a month later in the first full week of February. So there's a big gap between the 2 legs of the semi-finals. And the final itself, Sunday the 16th of March, much later than normal, and that's at Wembley. Newcastle, though, a problem for the first leg. Bruno Guimaraes and Fabian Schär suspended for the first leg of the semi-final after being booked last night. 2 yellow cards across 4 League Cup ties, and they have to miss a leg of the semi-final. And that feels maybe just not quite right, when in Premier League terms, 5 yellow cards within the first 19 games gets you a suspension. I just think 2 in 4.
It's a bit harsh.
I think it is.
And Steve, those are 2 big players as well, of course, Bruno and Fabian Schär. So that will be significant.
Yeah, of course. I mean, 2 very good players, and when you miss when they're not there, then of course you're going to miss them. But again, I have mentioned before, it's an opportunity for somebody to come in and stake the place, and what better place to do it in a semi-final.
Let's hear from some fans, though, who spoke to our reporter Nisha Joshi outside the ground after last night's game, just to give you a sense of how people were feeling.
Fantastic, great result. Can't wait for the next round. So we'll decide who play it and hopefully get through. But fantastic result for Newcastle today and all the fans. Brilliant. Anybody comes to St James's Park, they'll be terrified of us.
I think we played brilliant. Yeah, I think we played really well.
I think we're going to win it. I think we're going to beat everyone and win the cup.
Brilliant game, brilliant atmosphere, yeah. Well deserved win.
Gordon, I think, was man of the match for me. He was unbelievable. Yeah, he ran everywhere. It was unbelievable.
Brilliant performance. Thought Lewis Hall and Sandro Tonali were by far the best players on the pitch. I think they're quite easy winners in the end. Why not dream? Semi-final would be tough because it might be Arsenal, Liverpool, tougher games, but you never know. Over 2 legs, I think we can beat anyone now, and you never know. Get to the final, finally get some silverware.
So, people are obviously very optimistic as they came out of St James's Park last night. Anas, how are you feeling?
Very jubilant. Last night was excellent. It was really, really special. And I appreciate it's not, Brentford's maybe not the highest profile team we've played at SGP, but it was one of the best nights I've enjoyed at the ground yet, because it was just where I was really seated. I felt like I was in the premiere seat at a cinema, just watching, the best of the best happen right in front of me. And to watch Sandro Tonali play his best game, undoubtedly man of the match for me last night, for obvious reasons. But I just felt he really asserted his authority with the 2 goals, and to see that happen right in front of my face was just spectacular, really special. And the atmosphere was really, really buoyant. The tell me ma, chants were in full flow, and it was magical. It was fantastic. But of course, I don't want to get too carried away. We've still got 2 more rounds to clear before we hopefully win our first trophy domestically since 1955. So
55.
Whoever we draw tonight, what a draw it's going to be.
Yeah, you've done them a disservice. 55, our last domestic trophy. The atmosphere, Steve, last night, the old Que Sera song came out again, as you would expect it to. You can sort of feel a bit of the spirit of 2 years ago coming out now, but just people hoping they go one step further.
Yeah, as I said, no matter who they get, it's going to be difficult, but obviously you've got to enjoy nights like last night, into another semi-final, which is a very good achievement, and beating Nottingham Forest away. I think Chelsea as well at home, as well as a couple of other teams. I think, was it Wimbledon that was played at home though?
Yeah, that's right.
If you look at Brentford's fixtures, they were probably certainly easier of theirs than Newcastle's. But you have to fancy Newcastle over 2 legs against anybody. If they bring the intensity, it's okay probably to bring the intensity at home. It's still, you still have to do it, but it's doing it away from home. I think that's the thing. If they can do it away from home, even if it is Liverpool, even if it is Arsenal, you want the first leg to be away, and then to bring it back, maybe it's 1 goal deficit or something like that, or level, and then it's certainly all to play for. But with it being 2 legs, I think they've got a great chance.
Who would you like, Anas, in the draw?
I'll just bring any of them. Just bring any of them. I'm not fussed. In order to win this trophy or any trophy, we have to beat the best, and that there's no point. I think speculating who could we get, who could we not get, who's the easier opponent. We just have to take whoever comes and just do what Steve exactly said. Master them over the 2 legs, and then just go one step further in the next year. So that is as simple as that, really. I actually laughed when Steve, you mentioned the Nottingham Forest game, because I still remember that I was on edge, when we struggled to get through that round. And to think that contained within the very same run that we're in now, and now obviously things are in full flow, especially after last night. It's just hilarious, actually, to be quite honest, to think that this is all part of the same run that we've been on. So it's a funny game, football. It really is.
It's often...
Well, I was just going to say it certainly is, because he's obviously talking about that result. I can remember playing against, I think, Stevenage.
Yeah.
In the FA Cup for Newcastle, and we went there and we were 1-0 up reasonably quickly. I think Keith Gillespie put a great ball in for Shearer, thinking, we're going to cruise this, and the pitch was awful. In the end, we were literally hanging on to get it to 1, kept it at 1-1, and then brought it back to St James's. And even then, I think we won 1-0 or 2-1.
Yeah, it was tight, wasn't it? Yeah, it was 2-1, wasn't it?
And I think Al got given a goal, and I'm not even sure whether it was over the line. We absolutely struggled, and yet you managed to get to the final. So, sometimes you do get them.
It happens, doesn't it? Yeah, when you get to a final, there's always one dodgy game on the way, isn't there? And yeah, I think it probably has happened with Sunderland as well, Martin. If you think back to their most recent finals in early rounds, there's always one that you kind of scrape by.
Scrape through when you do start to think, I wonder if this is our year. Yeah.
Anas, thank you very much indeed for coming on tonight. Good to speak to you. I'm glad you enjoyed it last night, and keep an eye out for that draw tonight. This one is a message from Wayne, and it says, hello, Pridey. Wayne here. You heard my 3-1 prediction first. And in fact, everyone who came on last night predicted 3-1, Steve. It just shows the level of knowledge, depth of knowledge for our listeners, doesn't it? What a fully deserved result, says Wayne. Could have been a lot more, again, after the weekend. And I feel that we are starting to click now. And Sandro Tonali, just wow. And this one is from Marky. Bruno and Sandro can't play together, they said. Too similar, they said. Well, class players adapt. Cream rises. They are starting to gel now. We have many false dawns, or we've had many false dawns this season, but we are starting to look like there are good times ahead, says Marky. And this one is from Brian. It says, pleased to progress. Brentford rarely troubled us, Steve, but how seriously were they taking the competition, leaving Mbeumo and other first teams out of their starting 11? It was a bit strange, wasn't it? Regardless, Tonali was excellent and must stay in that position, but the tackles that have led to the semi-bans were needless and frustrating. Whoever we get in the semi will be tough, says Brian.
Well, like I said, it will be tough. I think, listen, I'm all for people to get excited and stuff like that, but I'm one of these where it's the same as results. If results is not going great, I don't think it's too. I'm not one of these that you think, it's panic stations, the season's gone, and the manager out, and all this kind of, because we've had that. Let's be honest, we have. And just exactly the same when things is going well. Yeah, it's great. Can they keep it going? But let's not get carried away. I'm not a doom gloomer by any, but I think you've just got to, temper everything. You've got to look at it as it is without getting carried away either way.